Hey, Jeff with Kudzu Craft. Today we're going to talk about repairing a broken boat. I have a rare opportunity here where I can actually show you how to repair a boat without having to strip it apart. Now this assumes you've got a damaged frame or something, in the cockpit where you can get to, which is the case in this boat. Typically, if you're going to break a frame or you do somehow damage a stringer somewhere in here, you've got to strip the boat and reskin it. This is one of those unusual opportunities, so we're going to film this and show you how I'm going to repair this boat and place two frames in it. I'm going to show you what happened to this boat. It's a very odd situation. I left it sitting out on my trailer behind the shop here, which I do if I'm paddling a lot. I had it and two or three other boats on the trailer. Had it laid over on its side, cockpit cover on it. Wasn't worried about it sealed up. There's no water going to get inside because I always stress don't store them wet. Let them dry out. And this one was dry. But we had some rain, and again, I didn't worry about it. And what happened is somehow, I shouldn't say what happened because I don't know what happened, but water got in the cockpit and it's standing up on its side, so it's all focused right down here, what's on this side. And then we had a freeze, which is not that common here in the South, but we do have below freezing temperatures in the winter, and that turned ice, and when it did, water expands when it freezes, and it's just pushed these layers apart. And you can just count every layer. You can see them right there, hopefully, and see this layer's peeled off. So this frame, and I believe it's this one, were sitting down, water was sitting down in this edge, and they froze, and I can feel the little delamination. Actually, it's not this one, it's this one up here. But I can feel a little delamination there. So I've got to pull these two out and replace them. And to say I'm fortunate that they're not back up, but excuse me, back up in the bow or something, because I'd have to skin it. Just no way around it. You just have to peel the skin off to fix it. But anyway, let's jump in and see about fixing these. First thing I'm going to do is pull this one frame out. I'm going to leave this one in, keep support in. So if you ever have to do this, do them one at a time. Just take a razor knife, just cut through your lashings. Be careful not to hit your skin and put a hole in it. It's easy to slip. I scared myself just then. Got in here. All right. I've already cut a couple lashings over there. Figured it's real exciting watching me cut lashings. I'm going to get to this one. Help if my glasses would stay up. Alright, pull it out. And this one should, well, it broke, which is no big deal. Oh, I got another lashing right there. Razor knife and make short work of them. This should come in backwards. This is going to come out. Whew, that was worse than I thought. It's going to come out in pieces, but you can see what I'm talking about. It just caused that to delaminate. Trim up this. Okay, so you've drawn out your old part on here, in my case, using drawing. I'm going to cut them out, rough them out, take them to the bandsaw. Now I'm going to finish the cut on the bandsaw. Sand them real quick, clean up the edges. So anyway, I'm oiling the frames up here. They're ready to install once this dries, and we'll wait till tomorrow. I'm wearing gloves to keep the smell off my hands. Excuse me, I don't want to get it all over the camera and the microphones and stuff. So tomorrow These will be dry enough. We'll put it together and we'll lash these in place. Good morning. Back in the shop this morning. We're going to lash this in place. Sal left you with the frames oiled. I've gone ahead and slipped this one in place. It's no big deal. It doesn't show it. It'll just, if you got the cut right, it'll fit in without too much effort. Take a little, your fist, a little pounding just to tap it in place. And what we're going to do to lash it, you've got to get under the stringer. Now, your skin's not going to be so tight you can't force it under there. But what I have done, looked around the shop and I found some little scraps, and they're kind of wedge shaped. I've got one already in place, and I'm going to put another one right here. We just slide it up under there. You can push down on the skin, slide it under. Don't force it. I mean, it's snug, but don't do anything to damage your skin. And now you're going to be able to slide that lashing up under there. At least should. Let me usually flatten out that end. Yeah. And now we can slide it right out, and we can start lashing this in place. All right, this is going to be real exciting to watch. But as I said earlier, I've wedged a couple little pieces under here to give me some slack that I can get my sinew under here. So I've got another video on this. I'm not going to bother to go through how I do it. We'll just hit the high points here. I make a stopper knot, come over, tie it off. This is part of the two steps. Is an Eskimo knot. Real straightforward. It's covered in the book. It's covered in one of the other videos. Just check out YouTube. And now got that. I've got way too much here, but I wanted more than I needed. Let's see. I'm going to come up. I'm going over, and I'm going to move my wedge. You can't see it, but I'm coming under that stringer. Helps to flatten those edges out. Through. Yeah, I got way too much. Just going to clean off that dirt. I should have. I'll do that 6 times minimum. You can do up to 8. You can do 20 if you want, but you don't need it. 6 to 8 works good. Pull it in here. Alright, this is kind of large, but I keep dowel stock handy. This is a pin off my workbench. Just pull those snug. I usually do it after I do about 2 turns around that. I went 3 on that one. And when I'm building one, I prefer to do this next step, tie this knot, or tie it off on the back side, kind of out of sight. I think it looks a little neater. But here it's a matter of access. So we're just going to put them wherever we can get to them easiest. Yep. There we go. I usually take a little screwdriver and put in there, and I forgot mine, but I'm not going to need it. Pull it tight. Do it again a couple more times. Again, I cover this in other videos, but when you do this, the needle sometimes works good. Loop it through itself. I forgot to on the first ones, and they'll tighten up as they go. There you go. That one's lashed. We'll do it one more time and put a stopper knot in it, and you're just going to rinse and repeat. I'm going to go ahead and pull this one out. I've got a lashing done in here. All right, I've got one lashing done. I got this one in place. I'm going to go ahead and pull this one out and just double check the fit. And I was thinking about last night cutting that out with the razor knife. And if you slip, you've got a kind of a mess there. You cut your skin. So I've decided that wire cutters, or in this case I've got some of these cheap little Harbor Freight scissors, are probably a better choice. You don't risk, not near as much risk of cutting the skin which I almost did there. That on that first cut I showed them there, I slipped. Scared me, honestly. So I pulled out these Harbor Freight scissors, and they actually work pretty darn good. I think they give these away free. This is what I used when I teach classes, so I don't want people having a razor knife and somebody ending up with several stitches in their hand. Okay, I've got this one loose. Pull it out. Actually, doesn't look bad. Got a little delamination there and there. So that one really wouldn't have had to been replaced, but of course we got a new one made, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it. So it looks like my damage was limited to just that one frame. But we'll get the other frame and we'll put it in. Change of plans. What I had planned on doing was lashing this joint, which I lashed that one. And I fought and fought and fought trying to get the sinew behind there. This is a good tight skin, and I just could not find a good way to get that sinew through there. So I backed up, done something I don't like to do, but it'll work. I'm actually pegging these joints in. Dowel stock, drilling the hole, running it through, and gluing it in place. It'll work just fine. It's not my first choice, but sometimes you just don't have any choice. I've measured the drill, the depth rather. I've marked it with a piece of blue tape so I don't drill through too much. And I've done a couple of them. I'm going to do one right here. Now this is something you need to have a steady hand and be comfortable with. That one's a little out of place there. So we're going to just drill through and peg one real quick for you. I'm just cutting these dowels with a pair of cutters. That'll make it just a little longer than I need. I can go back and trim them. Coat them in glue. Actually, I want to put a little glue in that hole. Yeah, that filled it good. I just don't want that peg coming out. So there. It's actually quick and easy. And now I can't really get in here too easily and peg one. I think it'd be fine, so I'm gonna put one in here. I've got that one lashed. I'm just gonna leave it. And that's really the only way I can come up with. I did pull some stitching twine I used through here, and I could pull it through, but then you have the hassle of feeding it back through. So it just turned into a royal pain. I really could not figure out a better way to do it. And that looks about right. So let's drill this one in. See, I've got a problem right here. Actually, I can lash that one. You're looking at it, it just feeds right through there. So we're going to go ahead and lash this one in place, peg those, and that'll finish this thing up. All right, except for a cleanup, just a little light sanding, I think this boat's done and ready to go down the road to a new owner. Now, one thing I want to stress here is that the pegs are not a substitute for lashing. It works in this case in a repair, but don't think you can peg the boat and get away from lashing, because it just simply wouldn't work. Because if you peg these outer joints, these stringers are pulled into place. Those pegs are not going to hold it in place, they're just going to come apart. It works here because the rest of the joints are lashed. These stringers are actually forcing the frame inward. I had to spread them just slightly to get the frames in, and when I got them in there, they're actually a good fit. So the peg works good in this case in repair. It would work in another end in a repair situation, but it's not a replacement for lashing, and I don't want anybody to misunderstand and think, oh boy, I can just peg them and not lash them. It would be nice if we could. It'd be a whole lot quicker. So as I say, this is an unusual case. The first time we've ever had to do this. So this boat's complete. We appreciate you watching, and thank you very much for your support.